We start with that sprint lecture on rainwater management. The following segment came about after I met our next speaker, Matt Wheeldon, at a conference. He spoke with such energy and enthusiasm that I felt we just had to invite him here. Now, Matt has worked for the UK water utility Wessex Water for the past 25 years. He's currently the Infrastructure Development Director. He is passionate about rainwater management. His thesis, as you will hear, is quite simply that the current media focus on storm overflows is misplaced. It's not a poo management problem, it's a rainwater management problem.
Matt, thank you very much for joining us again today. I met you at a conference a few weeks ago, and you had the audience absolutely held in the palm of your hand as you talked about water resource management. And I pleaded with you that you would repeat this for this international audience here to try and share some of your vision and enthusiasm. You've kindly agreed to giving a 5-minute mini lecture. Are you set to do it?
I certainly am, Piers. It's great to be here. I'm going to talk a lot about rainwater because it seems that that's the problem, and that's the asset, that's the liability that we're kind of neglecting so much as a society.
Brilliant. Well, Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Piers. Well, hi, everyone. We're just about to embark on a £56 billion investment programme to tackle this wonderful problem of storm overflows. This has captured the nation's imagination and ire, and as a result, government has knee-jerk responded to that by introducing legislation, and water companies are now about to pour an awful lot of concrete to try and hit fixed discharge numbers to tackle storm overflows. It's a bit of an environmental disaster, really, not the storm overflows, but the way in which we're going to be tackling them. And what I want to do is highlight why we're doing this all in the wrong way and what we could do to do it in a better way. So fundamentally, storm overflows is not a poo problem. It's a rainwater management problem. And if we look at it as a sewage problem, then we've looked at it too late. Because what we should be doing is thinking about storm overflows as poor rainwater management. And if we start looking at it in a different approach, it opens up so many other opportunities to manage rain better, which benefits the environment in so many different other ways. So let me give you an example. The majority of homes, their rainwater is connected to their foul water on their property. So they are the supplier of rain. They are the point of combining. And when we have combination, we have combined sewer overflows, etc., etc. So rather than solving the problem downstream by building big storage tanks to take all this rain and then treat the contaminated rain, which is crazy in the first place if you think about it, if we take the solution right back up to where the problem starts, i.e. at the property, and tackle it there by separating it at source and not letting the rain mix with the sewage in the first place, then suddenly we've saved an awful lot of infrastructure downstream. But more than that, if we start dealing with rain and seeing rain as a resource that lands on everyone's roofs as a valuable asset, and we start saying, hey, rather than using all this drinking water that comes through my tap to flush my toilets, to water my garden, etc., but I see my property as a natural resource capture system, then disconnecting the rain from the sewer and capturing the rain for reuse solves both water efficiency and water scarcity problems, as well as storm overflow and flooding problems. In other words, what we really need to do is have a decentralized approach to rainwater management as a society. This isn't a water company issue, this is a societal issue. And we don't have that approach because everyone thinks, or certainly those in the power in Westminster think that storm overflows and water scarcity should be solved by the water companies. And the truth is, we can solve it at large environmental cost. It's not the right thing to do there. We should be looking at how we deal with rain at property level. Now, this is all real common sense. There are two principles of good rainwater management, and they are this, and This is not rocket science. One, rain is a resource. We should be capturing it locally and reusing it where possible. Two, rain should be returned back to the environment as close to where it landed in the first place as possible. Now, you could teach this to primary school kids and they would get it, but we don't do it as adults in our society. So if I build a new house today, I do not have to follow those really simple principles. How mad is that? Well, it is mad, and I want you, me, to try and change that madness to bring a bit of sense. So not only do we need to change the way in which we build houses, but then we need to apply those same principles to how we retrofit existing houses. And at the moment, there is loads and loads of things that get in the way of doing that, be it legislation, be it the way in which water companies are regulated, and the way in which we measure benefits. All of this needs to change in order for us to build back better and to start seeing rain as a resource, and then to start disposing of it as locally as possible. In other words, mimicking nature. How often do we hear human beings coming up with wonderful ideas that if we just mimic nature, life would be better? Here is another example. If we just mimic nature or try to mimic nature, life will be better. Now, seeing rainwater management as a societal issue is not yet on the government's agenda, but seeing energy efficiency as a societal issue is on the government's agenda. So let me give you an example of this. When you pay your standing charge for gas and electricity, which is huge, it's about £360 a year for me, I don't know what it is for you, some of that money goes to the government so they can issue grants so that you can have loft insulation, wall insulation, solar panels, ground source heat pumps, etc. So in other words, they see this decentralization of energy management as crucial for climate resilience and for spreading the load, dealing with peaks. But they don't see that when it comes to rainwater management. So here you have a natural resource landing on your roof, not from the sun, but from the clouds. And what we need is a government that sees rainwater management as a societal issue and thinks to itself, how the heck can we harness this natural resource at property level, like we are doing for solar or energy efficiency things? So that's what I want to try and get across, is how do we do that? How do we convince powers that be to recognize that rainwater management is a societal issue, and that if we deal with it there, the solutions we're going to come up with are going to have such a lower carbon footprint compared to the direction of travel that we're currently going, which is building big storm tanks for the storm overflow issues and building very large reservoirs for the water scarcity issues. Let's see rain as an asset, and let's manage the liability far more locally than we do. Rather than thinking it's someone else's problem, let's see it as our problem. I always say to people, raindrops are fine as long as you keep them away from their friends.
Thank you, Matt. Keep rain lonely. Love it. Stimulating thoughts.